Many people do. Many people try themselves and then they kind of end up just robbing back from themselves.
Yeah, I was definitely robbing back.
Yeah.
I wasn't. So I don't know. And then I don't think I've had to rob any since we did it properly.
We haven't? You haven't? No.
And then that's good. I mean, we've had a good year, and our revenue's higher and everything, and obviously helps. But I think if I'd not implemented Profit First, I'd still be on the 11th of January, not knowing what my corporation tax bill is due in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And not knowing if you had the money to pay.
No, yeah, exactly. Just be like, oh well, I'll work it out.
I'll figure it out.
They're not going to chase me straight away. I'll scrimp and save later on, and it was a mess last year. But then, just feeling much better about it, having money stored away.
Today on Uncover Wealth Radio, I have the massive pleasure of speaking to Alex. Alex is actually one of our clients, but Alex is also the founder of The Lead Engine, which is a lead generation marketing agency working specifically with financial advice businesses. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks very much for having me. And I'm glad you got the intro right. It would have been awkward.
It would have been, yes. Since you're a client, particularly, that would have been very awkward had I not known anything about you. That would have been very difficult. So, lead generation, Alex, I think it's the kind of holy grail that every business owner wants more leads. That's kind of what we're all searching for. So tell us, is it a black art? Is there a science? Tell us more.
It's definitely not a black art. There's definitely equal, science. Yeah, I would say there is a science. There probably is a science to it. I suppose there's equal parts being creative as well as there being being fairly formulaic with it. So yeah.
So how can we position our businesses to generate more inquiries? How do we do it?
Well, there you are. Well, the key word there, position, was one of the biggest things. So I guess my background in terms of lead gen, there's been two types of kind of businesses. I did a lot of work before with like products, sports products, and when it's like a B2B product, it's quite different to like a service. So obviously I've got a service, you've got a service. So that would be different to if someone's got a product. So I'll talk about the both. I can talk about the product one, definitely we found. So I was doing stuff like it was portable floodlights for football pitches and
I didn't even know you got portable ones.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, so the big thing was a lot of football clubs would have their training pitch and only their playing surface, their proper match day pitch, under floodlights.
Of course.
So in the winter, if they wanted to do training sessions in the evening, they would either ruin their main pitch or pay for an indoor thing,
or be in the dark.
Yeah. So or be in the dark, which you can't really do. So that kind of product would definitely be different to say like the mortgage advisors and our own business. And what we found a lot with the product-based stuff is that people are quite happy to download like a PDF. So when you have like your lead magnet type thing. So I always found with that sort of thing, there was like 3 stages of the buying process. It was kind of like if you're kind of researching, you'd be happy to download the brochure or something and give your email address and phone number. So some people will classify that as a lead, I guess. And then if you can book a demo for the product, so it'd be the next stage would be, if we're looking to book a demo, you probably what it is, and you're going to compare it with what you've seen before. So booking a demo is good. And then there's getting a quote. So with those kind of products, we had those, when we're sending people through, sometimes we don't know what stage in the buying process they're at. And you could quickly jump them from one to another. So you download your brochure, they like what they see in the brochure, so then they'll book the demo. Sometimes we'd see straight away, but they wouldn't have booked the demo had they not seen the brochure, if that kind of makes sense. So with those kind of products, it was always making sure that we had a call to action for each stage of the buying process. And that works really well. And not asking too much and thinking about at each stage, what do we want? Or what will they be happy to give? And a lot of the time it's, if they're just downloading that brochure, they're not going to give you their phone number, their address. The amount of times I've been to a website and it's like, download our brochure and give us all your information. It's like, no, I don't even know what it is. I don't know if it can help me yet. So that will help a lot. And you'll find people's email lists. Your email list will just kind of skyrocket if you're getting people to the website.
So it's about getting those kind of small call to actions to move them through each stage of the buying process.
Absolutely, because they will either, it will be a problem that they're trying to solve, and they'll either be researching that problem, comparing solutions, or looking to get prices. So sometimes you will not know when they're landing on that website where they're at. So just giving them the journey to go down for each one can make a huge difference. So doing stuff like that, just so in the, you've got your like header on your website, and we call it the hero section, where you'd have like maybe a large section with the, what it is, and having 3 buttons in there that lead to the 3 different forms to get the information, to funnel them in that way and tag them in your content management system that they're in whatever stage. But you will often find email notification of the brochure come through, and then the email notification they've booked a demo or they've asked for a price. But if there was nothing there, they may have just visited the website, not sure what it is, and left and gone somewhere else. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's definitely that way. And then your product is your products. All the basics that you hear. Sell the don't sell the features.
Oh yes.
It's problem solution.
Highlight the problems.
Yeah, all the cliches that you normally hear. So that's definitely that one side. And then on your service, your base stuff, for me and for my clients, and you do the same thing. There's kind of like 3 things. There's people buy from people,
of course,
always. So like I remember putting my face on my website, and it was the most awkward thing I ever did, but I remember
that too.
The very next day someone rang. I've never had it before again. But the very next day, some guy said, "Oh, the only reason I rang is you were willing to put your face to your business. It shows me that you believe in it." And I was like, "Wow, so that's really, it's really big for people."
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely people buy from people. So you're selling yourself a lot of the time. If it's service-based business, they're buying into you. Everyone loves a specialist. So people would rather use a lead gen marketing company that specialize in like financial services than they would someone that does everything.
Of course, yeah. In the same way that I would like to go to the best, if I need a heart operation, I want to go to the best heart surgeon. I don't want my GP doing my heart operation.
If I want to implement Profit First and I need an accountant to do that, I'd want to get a Profit First specialist accountant rather than a normal accountant that does, that's maybe, could do it, but there's something, people love a specialist. And then I think the third thing is giving information without expectation. So trying to help people. So when people say like, what is your why? A lot of people say, like, it's for my kids, it's for this, I want to do this for me. If you make your why about your client, so ours is like, we don't want anyone in financial services to stress about where the next deal is coming from. And then you everything you do in your marketing is to help them do that, and you're not sort of concerned about what you get out of it. So it's like being selfishly unselfish. Then you build trust and rapport with people, and then all those 3 things, you get inquiries.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our kind of why pledge is to increase every business owner's profit by £20,000 a year as a minimum starting point. And it is all about the service and serving. Yeah,
serving. That's it. You're serving people rather than trying to sell to them. I think you get your head around those 3 things, then you will get inquiries. As long as it is you specialize in something that people need, obviously, and your service is good and everything like that. But yeah, certainly I used to hide behind a logo. I used to do everything for everyone, and I used to try and sell, and it didn't work.
Yeah,
I think that's your natural starting point that everyone does. And when you get your head around this people buy from people thing, if you can just do that one thing that enough people want and you're the best at it, or position, like you said at the beginning, position yourself A lot of the time, perception is reality.
Yes.
Someone else could be better than you, but if it's perception is that you're the best, then
you are.
Then that's it. If you nail those three things, then job done.
So if we do all those things and we're still not getting traffic to our website, how do we fix that bit of it? How do we, once we've got these things nailed, how do we sort the bit that says, okay, someone's gone to Google and they've typed, digital marketing for financial services, or they've typed Profit First Accountant UK, or whatever any of our listeners have, and their business is not coming up in the search algorithms. What do we do about it?
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose one of the first things we do is use. So I've got a tool called Semrush or Semrush. People may be aware of that.
Yeah. We'll link to that in the show notes as well for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a free trial. It's quite expensive software, but there's a tool in there called Keyword Magic Tool that gives you the volume of what is searched for, which you can get from Google for free. But the one where sort of Semrush is kind of worth its weight in gold is it gives you the keyword difficulty. So how hard is it? How competitive is it to rank for that? So knowing what people search and how hard it is, you can pick your battles. And this is actually really good. If you've not chosen your specialism, you can use this as a tool. So for our clients, when we're dealing with them on the mortgage space, there are so many specialisms within mortgages itself, and we can pick our battles for our clients.
Nice.
Knowing how difficult it is. So there's some stuff. So for example, like remortgage or first time buyer is the banks are all page one. It's impossible. So you picking your battles, you've got to go after the specialist stuff like self-employed or whatever. So it's like, how competitive is what you do? Because it may be you're trying to do SEO and get organic traffic and it's never going to happen. It may be that you can't. I mean, if you want to do SEO for everyone, good luck, because there's been people page one for the last 10 years and you've got to knock them off. And so I guess, is it possible to get free traffic is the first thing.
True.
Right? Is it a problem people search for? Is it a problem there's some people have services where they don't know they need it,
or they don't know what it's called. So they know what it does, but they don't know what the actual name of the service is. Yeah.
So I suppose then it's if you know what they would look for, if they don't know what your name is, what are they searching for? Like so instead of like Profit First Accountant, how do I take home more money, or how do I take more salary without feeling guilty about it, or all that kind of stuff. Do people search? What are the things that people search for when they're not ready? And then you create the answers. Q&A. Google's just Q&A. So there's a really good book called They Ask You Answer. I think it's Marcus Sheridan. So it is literally Google is Q&A. So there's people are searching for the problems, you create the answers, and that comes back to giving information without expectation. So it's like helping people when they Google.
Nice.
So it'll be like things for us. It's like, how do I generate mortgage leads? So we create content to answer that, or how do I use Facebook ads, or how do I use Google ads, or whatever. You create content to answer those. So you need your website needs to be technically good. So we use Semrush to do technical audits on that as well.
Nice.
And then there's another thing called domain authority. So if you bought a brand new domain, it's going to take longer than if you've had a domain for like 5 years and you've got other people linking to you and stuff. So they're the kind of like the three things. And you can look at Google ads and pay for traffic, and you've obviously got like your social media and all your sort of, building a following on there and things like that. And one sort of tip really, I cleared out my LinkedIn of everyone apart from who my ideal client is. Nice. So I'm only interacting with their content and they see that I'm liking it, and they're more likely to see my stuff. So I guess it depends on who your client is, what they're searching for. So it just depends, because it depends who your listeners, what they do. But that should give them a bit of an idea. Do your research. Do people actually search for it? Or am I going to have to use ads on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever because they won't search for it? But if they knew that I existed, then they'd be interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of touched on the content side of things and speaking about, producing content. I remember years ago, somebody telling me that, Google loves fresh new content on websites. Is that still the situation?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So it's always looking for like new content whenever. So we had a client that paused during the first lockdown. So the site didn't get touched for about 3 months. And then because it stagnated, if you like, it dropped 3 or 4 places. So it was position 1, it dropped to 3, 4 or 5 or something within about 3 months, just because there was no new content on. And that was kind of it. So yeah, we're always, for our clients, we're creating content every month. So yeah, it should really be part of your, if you want to get that. And then I guess, if going back to Semrush and that keyword difficulty, if it is competitive, you're gonna have to do more. If it's not competitive, you won't have to. So it just depends really on what you do.
But the best practice is to produce content, presumably, as much as we can in order to get those higher places in Google, and also then to start ranking for those terms that we're producing content on, that people are searching for.
Absolutely. And it all comes back to if your why is genuinely to help your client, then part of your job is to help them, even if they speak to you or not, is to help them if they're just reading. So you're always like, how can this people, my avatar, how can I help this person this week, this month with some content? It's got to be it's about, like you said, serving them. How can I serve these people, even if I'm not going to speak to them, even if I'm not going to make any money out of them? How can I help them? And that's where the content comes from. You can also use, there's a website called answerthepublic.com.
Oh yes, I've seen that.
You put your question in, it'll give you a load of questions as well. But yeah, you've always got to be thinking, when you're speaking to potential clients, what questions are they asking you? How I've answered it on the phone, how could I answer that in content? There's all, you've got to be, you're like a media company, really. You're going to want to be the absolute resource of the answers to this problem in this specialism that I do. Yeah,
completely. That's definitely how we approach content as well. If I'm on a call with somebody and they say, you know what, I've just never understood what this is, whatever that might be. So somebody the other day said to me, I've never really understood exactly what bookkeeping actually is.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was like, ding, 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 ding. Content. Oh my goodness. I need to produce, a video explaining in depth what is bookkeeping, because if they've got that question, they're not going to be the only person in the world that has it. And it's going to be the same for our listeners' clients as well, that, when somebody says something that you might just think is an off the cuff, comment, write it down, because that is content gold for you. Because, if they're asking you on a call, but somebody else is typing it into Google or YouTube and finding the answer.
Yeah. And don't think anything is too basic. So I always, in our industry, I always look at the amount of people that search what is a remortgage.
Yes.
And we all think, that everyone knows what a remortgage is, but they don't.
No.
So it's like even the basic, and don't worry about, I think people worry about covering off the basics. They think that the people will perceive them as too basic. So covering off the basic, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I always sort of imagine that your client is like a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old that's sort of old enough to understand stuff, but doesn't know a lot about the real world. So just try and cover off and assume they know absolutely nothing, because often that's the case. And you always find actually clients apologize for not knowing.
Yes. Yeah, so I get that too.
So you'll get oh, I'm sorry, I don't really understand profit first. So it's you don't worry. That's you.
Why would you?
Why I'm here. Yeah. Why would you? And they always I don't understand. I'm really I had a call. And he said, my business partner didn't want to come on because he doesn't know anything about marketing. I was like, well, don't worry. You don't need to, you don't have to, but that's how people feel.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. I get that all the time as well. I get people very often that say to me, I really don't understand the counts or numbers, and say, well, has anyone ever taught you them? No. Well, why would you understand it then? It's not these things are not things that you're automatically born knowing. The same with marketing, the same with positioning your business on Google, the same with generating leads. Unless you learn about it, unless you study it, you won't know. I mean, that's just really natural, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about either.
No, absolutely. And if you find people apologize to you for not knowing, that means there are some people that are not ringing you because they're worried. A lot of people, we did a bit of research and asked consumers to compare 2 different websites, and a lot of them were saying, "Oh, I didn't. This website gave me enough information that I felt comfortable enough to call."
Wow!
So it was like, I knew nothing. I now know enough to feel comfortable to speak to an expert. So sometimes, like, thinking about your website as this bridge between knowing nothing and just knowing enough, because people don't want to be hoodwinked. They're very skeptical. And
they don't want to be embarrassed either. They don't want to get on a call and feel stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So that all comes back to those things again. You know, if people buy from people, if you can, and you're giving that information without expectation, you're alleviating a lot of those concerns by giving them information, not trying to sell to them. If you're being salesy, they're going to expect a sales pitch, and some people don't want it. They're not ready for it. Whereas if you give and help, some people will call and they'll want to speak to you, you know, to get your help, and you can ease them to the sale. Or if you only want to speak to people when they're ready for sale, then you kind of adjust it. It just depends how many leads you want, when you want to speak to people. But yeah, humans are, you know, they're worried about speaking to experts.
I certainly think what I found as well is that with the more content we produce, and we produce a lot of content, with the more and more content that we produce, actually the people that then book a call to speak to us are further along the buying cycle already, because you already build up that know, like, and trust factor, which we hear a lot about. But if you're on video, if you're on podcasts, if you're doing written blog posts, if your picture is in different places, by the time somebody picks up that phone to speak to you, it's pretty much just checking you're not an alien before they purchase. They're already very far down the cycle because they already feel like they know you.
Absolutely. You start going to, when they let us out again, you start going to like industry conferences, and people recognize your voice or your face, and they'll come and start chatting to you like they know you, like you know each other already, and you're like, oh,
like, sorry, who are you? I don't know who you are.
But it's great though, and anyone can do it. Anyone can do it, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people are still slightly nervous about having their picture out there, or their videos out there, or even just their voice out there. But you know, nowadays with, you know, this device that we carry around in our hand all the time, it makes it really, really simple for many people just to start getting their face out there too, I think.
And the only way you get comfortable with it is like doing it. I remember I think it was, I gave myself an Instagram challenge, because you can only do like a minute long videos, or at the time, whenever I did it. And I just set up a new Instagram account. I didn't follow anyone, no one followed me, and I just did one a day. And you just you break a wall at some point where you forget the camera's there, and you don't, if you can get a point where you don't care, like whether people like you or not, it's a great place to be. And there are different stages, because I broke the video thing, and then there was for a while I was really scared about LinkedIn.
Okay.
And if you can get to the point where you don't care, or even like if you build up a community and you know if someone has a go at you, you've got this whole army to back you up.
Someone's got your back.
Exactly. So but you've just, it's one of those things, everyone feels nervous about it. You think like Tom Cruise wasn't naturally a good actor. He practiced, you know, he was, you know, and he felt nervous on his first day, but he's created so many movies now he's you know, he doesn't even think about it. It's the same for everyone. I think you've just got to do it, like get over yourself and do it. It's really difficult, but if you can, it's a really good skill.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I was the same. The first few times I turned on the camera, I did not like it at all. And even now, to be honest, I don't watch back my own videos. I don't listen to my own podcast recordings, because I feel like my voice sounds as if I'm about 12 years old. So I don't like doing it at all, even now. But I know the importance of producing content, of that being a way that people find me, that being a way that people, as I said, know, like, and trust and get to know you better. And I think, for me, that outweighs, and the serving outweighs the nervousness and the worry that I have over putting my face and my voice all over the place. A lot of people don't know, but I'm actually an introvert, so I don't like having my face and my voice.
Me, I'm the
everywhere.
same. I'm absolutely 100% an introvert, like massively. And the same with public speaking. I remember like being at school and having to stand up at the front and like read something, like being so nervous. I remember it being at university, and we were in this big it was like first year in this massive hall, loads of people, and she was just picking out people, and I was like, palms are sweating. I was like, oh, don't ask me, I don't want to say anything. And then you go from actually like really enjoying doing things like public speaking. I think it's one of those, I've never met anyone that's had it as a natural ability. I think some people get over it quicker than others, but I think anyone can enjoy it. And once you've done it enough, it's like any skill, you gotta practice.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the kind of topic of content, I'm just going to throw this question at you. I haven't even told you I'm going to ask this.
That's fine.
Have you checked out Clubhouse? Have you seen what's happening there? And what do you think of it if you have?
Yeah, so I got my invite pretty quickly. I went on and got my invite pretty quickly. When I'm consuming social stuff, especially outside of, so it's always with the sound off.
Yes.
So
me too, actually.
I like producing my podcast. That's one of my favorite things to do. So I produce a lot of audio based stuff. But so I was on there. I didn't, like, someone let me in really quickly, but I've not done anything. So I've not had time. So I've not got my head around it. I can see that a lot of people are going on there pretty quickly. I can see how that is going to grow. And it doesn't feel like a fad. It feels like it might actually be like a one that's here to stay, but I've just not had time.
For me, the really interesting part of it is there's no kind of replay available. There's no listening after the fact, because the one big thing that I love about podcasts is I often listen to podcasts when I'm running or when I'm driving, so I can choose what I listen to. I can go in, whereas with something like Clubhouse, it's much harder to do that, because there's no, you might be scrolling through and you might see a conversation that looks interesting, but you're in the middle of doing something else. It's just 2 minutes that you've had. So you're not able to go back and hear the conversation and listen in. And their terms of service, I believe at the moment, forbid you from recording it unless you announce to the room that you're recording it, and then you can use it for other purposes. So it's going to be interesting to see how they bring that in, and also how that ties into the SEO side of things, et cetera, with the content people are producing in there.
I think it makes it more exclusive. I think they've thought a lot about this whole, we're not just letting everyone in. There's this whole, you've got to get your invite. It's very exclusive. And a lot of people, I think they've been really smart about it. And I think that's probably another way of like, well, if you miss it, you miss out.
Yeah.
So are they going to hook more people in? So I think someone very, very clever it's not just the tech, or it's not just all something new. They've thought a lot about, because they could have opened it up to everyone, but they've done this whole, you've got to be invited. It's very exclusive Clubhouse thing. Yeah. And that's probably why they called it Clubhouse as well. Yeah. So I think it's probably just another thing that they're like, yeah, we could record it, but actually it's probably going to make it a little bit more, we've got to differentiate it somehow. And it's a little bit more, if you miss it, you miss out. It's like any event in the real world. Yes. If you don't go, you miss out. So, it'd be interesting. I think it's one that's here more to stay, because like TikTok feels like fairly faddy.
It does still. It does still. We produce content on TikTok, but it does still feel a bit faddy, I have to say. Yeah.
But it'd be interesting. I'm on there. I've done nothing with it.
Fair enough. So Alex, I would be crazy to have you on the podcast and not speak about your Profit First journey as well, since you are here. So tell us, how has Profit First kind of changed you and your business? What is it meant for you to have it in place now and working for you?
Yeah. So what's the date today? So we're like 11th of January. It's like tax season, isn't it? It's like,
it is. Yeah.
So if we rewind, we started working together this time last year, I think
We
it
did.
was.
Yeah.
I think I got to deadline day last year. So before obviously working with you.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what my corporation tax bill was going to be.
Ouch.
And I'd been stressing about it since, I think it was like, I think I got to I did last year's like April, May, whatever thing. And was like, right, no, I'm going to get organised. And never did, because it's I only spoke to my accountant once a year. And I remember getting through like before Christmas, really, that horrible, just really, no, you should be doing something about it. Not really.
I really don't want to.
Yeah, not really saving money for it. And I can see because we work with a business finance client and they do a lot of loans for VAT bills and tax bills and things like that. And you can see why people get themselves in that situation. I'm not a natural planner. I don't, I don't naturally organise and split things up. So.
And many people don't.
No, I think it's normal to have one bank account and think you're rich 5 minutes before your VAT bill's due, and then think the world has ended when you pay it.
Absolutely.
So now definitely, things like VAT, those bills are bigger now, and I'm okay. It's the way it works, like mentally, just feeling so much more comfortable, like paying tax is one thing for me, and not seeing. And then someone said to me, like he the way he feels about paying tax is like, I feel like I'm giving money to charity because it's going to a worthy cause, things like the NHS and fixing roads and whatever they do with it. So my relationship with tax has definitely changed. My relationship, like I used to feel guilty about paying myself, and when you set yourself this percentage, you don't, I've earned it. So yeah, I think it's a lot of it is like your relationship with money and your business is in much better place, definitely, because I just remember this is how I felt about it before. And then I think as well, speaking, because we speak often, we look forwards. It's just having like traditional accountants, like I've had 2 or 3 before, and they're all the same. It's just like we speak once a year, and it's like, oh God,
what are they going to tell me my tax bill is?
Yeah, I know. Like I just don't understand why that is the normal, and why speaking regularly isn't normal. And like doing this, having separating your bank accounts and doing that whole profit first thing feels like it should be normal. So, if you are stressed about your tax bill, if you're stressed, if you when you pay your VAT and you're like, oh God, this is a nightmare, this is horrible. If you sort of make buying decisions because you feel rich, like just because your bank account says you're rich, you might not be, then and I did try it myself before and it didn't work.
Many people do. Many people try themselves and then they kind of end up just robbing back from themselves.
Yeah, I was definitely robbing back. I wasn't. So I don't know. And then I don't think I've had to rob any since we did it properly.
We haven't. You haven't. No.
And then that's good. I mean, we've had a good year, and our revenue's higher and everything, and obviously helps. But I think if I'd not implemented Profit First, I'd still be on the 11th of January, not knowing what my corporation tax bill is due in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And not knowing if you had the money to pay.
No, yeah, exactly. Just be like, oh well, I'll work it out.
I'll figure it out.
They're not going to chase me straight away. I'll scrimp and save later on. And it was a mess last year, but then just feeling much better about it, having money stored away, and then when you're physically, it's already mentally paid for as well. Yes. I think
completely.
When every week you're taking a little bit out, you've mentally spent it on tax already, or you spent it on VAT already, or whatever. I think that's so important. And then having that operating expenses account, knowing what you're actually got. Yeah.
And if you see a shiny object, then you know that that's the account it has to come from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Profit First spreadsheet that we've got, where we're looking forwards, being able to having that spreadsheet in is like, right, if we want to hire someone, we can just pop that.
Yes.
A 2-minute job of popping in a figure in a spreadsheet.
To work.
Does that work? Yes or no? Black and white.
Completely.
Whereas before it was kind of like, oh, got X amount thousand in the bank. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Rather than actually knowing black and white. So especially if you are like an entrepreneur who's like not like a planner, you're not like you're not that type of person where if you set up your business with your business plan was on the back of a fag packet, then you probably haven't got a spreadsheet for your accounts and your profit plan and things like that. So just for me, it's been huge, really huge. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. It is transformational in reality for so many businesses. Listeners, if you have not read the book Profit First by Mike Malkowitz, I highly recommend that you do. You can get it in all good bookshops. Of course, as we record this, bookshops are not open, so you'll probably have to go to Amazon or one of their online competitors to purchase it. It's also available on Audible as well. I also have a PDF version, so I will pop the link in the show notes for that. It's annetteandco.co.uk/pfbook, but I'll pop that in the show notes as well. So Alex, thank you so much for joining us on Uncover Wealth Radio. Tell the listeners where they can find a bit more about you, perhaps your podcast, all those good things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, yeah, if you work in financial services, we've got a podcast called Advisors Assemble, which is a great pun on Avengers Assemble. Sort of into my superheroes. You can see my Thor hammer in the background.
Nice.
You can probably see some Batman stuff going on there. So yeah, we like to make it a bit fun. So Advisors Assemble. So Alex Curtis on LinkedIn, and the website is theleadengine.co.uk.
Wonderful. Alex, thank you so much for coming on again. It's been really, really wonderful to speak to you in a slightly different context than we usually speak.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been really good. Thank you.
Awesome.